3 minutes. That's all it takes. A referee blows a whistle 22 minutes into the half, and somewhere a broadcaster's ad inventory just got a whole lot more valuable. Welcome to the strangest financial story of the 2026 World Cup, and it's hiding in plain sight inside every single match. FIFA calls them hydration breaks, mandatory, 3 minutes long, built into both halves of 104 games at this tournament. But ask the people actually playing, and a very different picture starts to form. So is this really about keeping players safe in the heat, or is there $250 million sitting behind those 3 minutes? Let's get into it. To understand why this is happening at all, you have to rewind to last summer's Club World Cup, also held across the United States. Temperatures soared into the 90s in multiple host cities, and players struggled visibly. Spain's Marcos Llorente described the heat as almost unbearable during one match in Pasadena, California, saying it left his feet sore just from standing on the turf. Coaches were cutting training sessions short under heat warnings in Philadelphia. FIFA took that experience and built a new rule for the World Cup. Starting this June, every match pauses near the 22nd minute of each half for a mandatory 3-minute break, no matter the temperature, no matter whether the stadium has a roof or air conditioning. The tournament's chief officer, Manolo Zubiri, even explained that if there's already a stoppage right around that 20th or 21st minute, referees are allowed to fold the hydration break into it. On paper, this sounds like simple player welfare. FIFA has said publicly that the goal is to keep conditions consistent across every single fixture, in every city, regardless of climate. That part isn't really in dispute. What's far more contested is what happens once the whistle blows and the cameras cut away. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far, do me a quick favor and hit subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel keep making videos like this one, and I've got a lot more detail coming up. Here's where things get interesting. Those 3-minute pauses have turned into one of the most lucrative pieces of real estate in this entire tournament for broadcasters. In the United States, Fox Sports holds the rights, and the network goes straight to commercial during almost every single break. A 30-second slot during these games reportedly runs between $200,000 and $300,000, and that number can climb past $750,000 for marquee USA matches or later rounds. Multiply that across 104 matches, 2 breaks per game, and you start to see the scale. Industry estimates put the additional advertising revenue generated in the U.S. market alone at around $250 million, and that's just one country. Reports citing the BBC suggest the worldwide figure, once you count every broadcast market airing this tournament, could push past $1 billion. Not every broadcaster is playing it the same way, though. Telemundo, the Spanish-language U.S. rights holder, has chosen not to cut to commercial during the breaks. Neither has ITV in the U.K., so the exact same 3 minutes is being used completely differently depending on which network you're watching, which only adds fuel to the idea that this is, at least partly, a commercial decision dressed up as a safety measure. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has pushed back hard on that framing. Speaking after England's draw with Ghana in Boston, he insisted there's no extra revenue flowing to FIFA itself since all the broadcast deals were locked in long before the breaks were even announced. He's called it purely a sporting decision, pointing to the physical toll of a 39-day tournament where some teams could play up to 8 matches. What do you think? Is this genuinely about player safety, or does the money angle change how you see it? Drop your take in the comments. I'm curious how split people are on this one. This matters because the science behind hydration breaks is actually solid, even if the execution has been messy. Sports scientists, including researchers who co-signed a letter to FIFA back in May, point out that once a player's internal body temperature climbs past around 105 degrees Fahrenheit, you start seeing confusion, aggression, even loss of consciousness. That's exertional heat stroke, and it's one of the leading causes of death among athletes worldwide. Players can lose 1 to 2 liters of fluid an hour through sweat in serious heat.
and losing just 2% of body weight to dehydration is enough to noticeably hurt performance. Those same researchers actually argued FIFA's 3 minutes might be too short, suggesting 6 minutes would do more for genuine cooling and rehydration. The bigger issue is that FIFA applied this rule everywhere, uniformly, instead of tying it to actual conditions. A senior meteorologist covering the tournament for Al Jazeera, Everton Fox, pointed out that cities like New York, Miami, and the Mexican host venues have genuinely been hot enough to justify breaks, but stadiums in Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, and Vancouver are climate-controlled, and there's been no real weather-based justification for pausing play there at all. That inconsistency is exactly what's fueling the money conversation, because if the breaks were purely about heat, you'd expect them only where heat is actually a factor. Compare that to UEFA's approach. Just this week, UEFA confirmed it will not be copying FIFA's model for Euro 2028 or the Champions League. Instead, it's sticking with its existing system, where cooling breaks only kick in once conditions cross a specific heat threshold, measured using a wet bulb thermometer, and the call stays with the referee. That's a pretty clear signal from European football's governing body that they see FIFA's blanket approach is more aggressive than necessary. Quick reminder if you're new here, subscribing costs nothing and it means you won't miss the next breakdown. I'd really appreciate it. Now let's talk about what this actually looks like on the pitch, because the player and fan experience has been a mixed bag. Netherlands captain Virgil van Dijk brought this up himself after his team's draw with Japan, half joking that watching from home, every cutaway to commercial just feels off, and that it's probably not great for neutral viewers either. Norway's coach, Ståle Solbakken, raised a more tactical concern, pointing out that the second-half break tends to land right in the middle of when coaches normally like to make substitutions, which throws off the natural rhythm teams have built their game plans around. France's Didier Deschamps described it bluntly as turning two halves into something closer to 4 quarters, a structural shift in how the sport flows. Spain's Luis de la Fuente has taken a more measured stance, saying the breaks clearly help in extreme heat, but admitting they feel unnecessary inside a cooled stadium. And then there's the moment everyone in football circles has been talking about, when Curaçao equalized against Germany in just the 21st minute of their group opener, looking like they might pull off a genuine shock. The hydration break landed almost immediately afterward. That gave Germany's coach, Julian Nagelsmann, a clean 3 minutes to regroup his players and reset the game plan. Germany went on to win 7-1. Nobody's claiming the break caused that scoreline on its own, but it's become a go-to example for anyone arguing these pauses can swing momentum at exactly the wrong moment for the team riding an emotional high. Fans in the stands have made their feelings pretty clear too. The very first hydration break of the tournament during Iraq versus Norway in Foxborough was met with boos, and that reaction has repeated itself in stadium after stadium since, including during Canada's own matches on home soil. Social media has leaned into the absurdity of it as well, with fan-made videos imagining different national teams using their 3 minutes in stereotypically national ways. Not everyone is against it, to be fair. Brazil's coach, Carlo Ancelotti, has spoken in favor of the breaks, and plenty of players in genuinely hot, open-air venues like Boston, Kansas City, and Seattle have welcomed the chance to cool down, especially with temperatures in some of those cities pushing past 90 degrees. If this kind of behind-the-scenes football story is your thing, subscribing really does help more than you'd think, especially with how much research goes into each one of these. So where does this go from here? As things stand right now, on June 25th, the group stage is wrapping up its final matches tonight, with the round of 32 officially kicking off this Sunday, June 28th. For the first time ever, 48 teams are competing for just 32 knockout spots, with the top 2 finishers from every group joined by the 8 best third-place teams. The best-case scenario from here is fairly simple. FIFA quietly adjusts the policy for future tournaments, perhaps tying the breaks more closely to actual temperature readings the way UEFA already does, while keeping the player safety upside intact. That would address the inconsistency complaints without scrapping a measure that genuinely protects athletes in dangerous heat. The more uncomfortable scenario is that the policy stays exactly as it is, commercial inventory and all, simply because it's already locked into broadcast contracts and nobody wants to unwind deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars partway through a tournament. FIFA has given no indication so far that it plans to change anything before the final on July 19th. Either way, this debate isn't going away quietly, especially with the knockout rounds about to raise the stakes on every single one of these breaks. So here's where I want to hear from you. Do you think these hydration breaks should stay exactly as they are, get adjusted to actual weather conditions, or be scrapped entirely once player safety concerns are properly addressed another way? And which country do you think has benefited most from a tactically timed break so far? Let me know in the comments. I read all of them. And if you made it this far, you clearly enjoy this kind of deep dive into the business side of football. So do me a solid and subscribe before you go. This story is still developing, and as always,